Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the last session of our Day of Impact 2.0 events for Women in Travel Thrive. My name is Jennifer Hill. I'm the Vice President of Client Solutions at Calorie Labs, and of course, a very proud board member of Thrive. Today, I am honored to join such great minds, industry leaders, colleagues, and friends, and it's great to see so many names that are familiar to me. Thank you for your support. We're here to thrive. Before we begin this great interview with Jagruti Panwala, let me explain to you what Thrive was built for. Women in Travel Thrive is a nonprofit organization whose primary goal is to make professional connections between women across the travel and hospitality industries. We're global, and let's face it, we all wanted and needed something like this to support one another. And now, a message from our founding director and the Thrive Hive.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Camarota, Senior Director with Expedia Group, and also a chair and founder of Women in Travel Thrive. Welcome to our second day of impact. Thrive is a movement. It's an all-inclusive community for all of us that are passionate about travel and its force for good. I leave you with thought of my gratitude for the many volunteers, the Thrive Hive that made this week and all the resources available possible for you. I know you will enjoy these events and you will in turn pay it forward with passion.
Play to your strengths and always keep growing them.
When looking at a new opportunity, don't be scared by what you don't know. Be excited for what you're about to learn.
My advice is simple. I learned it from my mom as a very young girl. Ask for what you want. My mom told me, if you don't ask for what you want, you're not going to get it because people can't read your mind. So good luck and go out and ask for what you want.
Remember that pressure makes diamonds. Keep pushing forward.
And my advice to you is to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Network with people across different parts of the travel industry to get a fresh perspective on the same idea.
Hey, fellow Thrivers. My word of advice is to be curious and stay curious.
Spend 10% of your time networking. It's so critical to make connections. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
One day you'll wake up and realize there's no more time left to do the things that you want to do. Do them now.
My advice, stay curious, embrace the change, and never be afraid to ask for help.
Don't wait until you feel 100% ready to apply for that next job. Most men won't.
Say yes to the things that scare you the most.
So my advice is to nurture your network. Stay in touch with your industry colleagues. Find out how you can help them. You'll be surprised how this can also open doors and opportunities for you.
True worth is a measure in comparison to others. Identify your priorities and make them your driving force.
My advice, persistence.
This is for my ladies like soldiers, we stand up. Remember when Tupac told us keep our head up. When the times.
It's absolutely been a week full of education and inspiration, and I hope you've had an opportunity to join us for as many sessions as possible this week. We will be making them completely available to you in the near future, so please keep your eye out for that. Today, you're joining us for an engaging conversation with the immediate past chair of AAHOA, Jagruti Panwala. Jagruti was the first woman to serve in this role, and she is really inspirational. You may have heard Chip Rogers from AHLA mention her yesterday. We're super excited to bring you this interview that I had the opportunity and honor to conduct with Jagruti. She wasn't able to join us live, but was very eager to participate in any way possible. And we know that we've asked for a lot of your time this week, and we really appreciate the commitment and investment to your career and growth and development that you've made. And we hope that you'll stay with us for this whole hour. We're going to surprise a lucky winner at the end with an Amazon gift card. So near to the end of the hour, I'm going to take a screenshot of all of our participants today, and we'll select someone at random to receive an Amazon gift card. So it's a little thank you for your perseverance and commitment to our events. So before we jump in with Jagruti, one of the top issues that she is here to discuss with us is how to get involved, how to build your network. And we have a lot of opportunities for you to get more involved with Women in Travel Thrive. So we're going to review these in more detail a little bit later, but I did want just to tie this in to the start of our conversation with Jagruti Panwala. We'll be live in the chat, so please keep that activity going from earlier sessions. And if you have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A button. Here we go.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Hill, and I am excited to bring you this conversation with Jagruti Panwala and have her tell us her story. So Jagruti, can you tell us just a little bit about your background, how you got involved with your organization, and why we're chatting today?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I started in the hospitality industry at a very young age, at age 21, where I purchased my first property with my father as a partner. And it was a small independent property in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And at the same time, I started my financial service company, which is a wealth protection strategies. So both of the business I started very early on with a lot of support, a lot of risk that were taken by me and my husband. But I got involved in AAHOA because when I was in the hotel business, I realized that there was a lot of learning curves, and as an association, AAHOA gives you a platform to network and learn from each other. And AAHOA has 20,000 hotel owners as their members, so it's pretty significant. So when you're starting out in a business, especially in the hospital industry, and you are just learning everything, it's so important to be involved in an association where you have the resources, the education, the networking opportunities. And that's how I really got involved, just as a member in the association about 20 years ago.
That's great. And AAHOA is the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, but can you tell us a little bit more about the membership makeup? I think one of the things that's most impressive to me about AAHOA is the percentage of women that are involved.
Yeah, well, Jennifer, it was not like the case. It wasn't like that when I joined the association in 2010. So when I joined the association in 2010 as a board member, the participation of the women were, I would say, probably 5 to 10%. So if I go to any regional events or any meetings, even at the board level, the participation was very, very, very low. So myself, along with a lot of other women, we decided that we needed to make the change, and we started doing like a small events, just like what you're doing in Zoom today. We started doing different events throughout the country, and we had maybe 10 women, 15 women, but we didn't care. We just wanted to make sure exactly, we wanted to find out first what they wanted. Why were they not participating? What were the issues? And once we figured out what the issues were, what they were missing, we developed the programs for their need, to make sure the women are also, they felt like they were part of the game and part of the decision maker. And I'm proud that now you are correct. 40% of 20,000 members that we have are female members, and not that they're just participating, they're engaged. We had in 2019 the biggest AAHOA conference with about 8,000 attendees, and close to 4,000 attendees were female. So it was a proud moment for us, and I think as an association, we have done a wonderful job trying to make sure that we have diversity in the leadership, diversity at the board level, diversity at a committee levels, and a diversity in a membership level.
I think that's really powerful and so telling that, you know, once you got out in the field essentially and were talking to women, really uncovering the things that were important to them, you were able to organically grow the membership so that it was more representative of who is out there, who's owning hotels. To that, point, what were some of the things, maybe the top one or two things that you heard when you were recruiting more women to the organization for membership? And then how do you think that's changed over the past few years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I still hear that, is that the women did not feel comfortable because if you walk into any meetings when there's 95% of the attendants are male and maybe there's few women, they felt like they didn't have the voice, they didn't have the support, they didn't have somebody in the leadership. So when I became the chair of the association, or I should say when I actually became an officer in 2014, it changed organically, because I didn't have to encourage women. The fact that they had somebody in a leadership who was a female, it opened up the door for so many women to just feel comfortable and say, you know what, I have my voice because I have somebody who I'm familiar with now, who I can relate to, who is going to speak on behalf of me. And I think that was the first thing that I would notice. I noticed that for the women, they needed a comfortable, they need a place to be where they felt comfortable. They wanted to make sure that if they're speaking up, they're being heard. And that changed over the years. But I think that was the biggest thing that I saw when I joined the association in 2010.
I think that's the number one thing that, many organizations find, no matter how large the organization is that representation matters. And that phrase, those two words, have become, sort of buzzwords all over the place, both in, our professional worlds, but also in pop culture. But it's so true when you see, a woman in leadership and you feel like you're going to be heard. It's a vastly different experience for someone as a member or even as an associate or employee. And, when we're thinking about the impact of the pandemic on women in their careers, and, one of our primary goals is to help women advance their careers, we can't do that without the support of leaders like you, and also allies who are supportive, right? The other officers on the board that time were men. And so, they were there to listen, and that helped change things effectively as well.
Yeah,
So
I will agree with you, Jennifer, that it really has to be a combination. I think the days of us as women saying, you know what, the women just needs to support the women, that's there. But I think also having the men support is as equally important. So whenever we're doing these events or conference, it's extremely important that also men get to hear what are some of the obstacles women are facing, because there are many men, actually majority of them, who are willing to help. But I think we shy away from asking for help. And I know we'll discuss that a little bit more upcoming.
It's such an important point, though, and I definitely think we'll touch on that. Today's big theme is how to be a badass at work and life. So when we first chatted, I said, I think you're a badass. We think you're a badass. And you were willing to accept that and take that on. So what does being a badass mean to you? And perhaps more specifically, as a woman and as a leader in hospitality?
One thing, I think many people agree that for a women, they want to get things done, right? We want to get things done. And I think that what makes me a badass. I've never looked at myself in that category, but until I spoke with you last week. But I think, I like to get things done. We have something on the agenda, let's get things done. No bickering, no back and forth. Let's just make sure that we're on top of everything. I think that's one thing about me, but also, as a female leader, it's extremely important that you are focused on your work, you're focused on your agenda, and focused on your goal. And I think we do pretty well at that. But I think at me, I don't like taking no for an answer. So if there is an obstacles in front of me, I will find a way to get things done. Now, I understand I also have some limitations, but I never look at anything in life, whether it's work or personally, and if there's an obstacle, I never look at it, okay, there's a there's a blockage here and I cannot go through it. The way I look at things is that there's always a solution for every single problem. You just have to look for it, and you have to make sure that you are working with your team to come up with a solution and getting things done. But getting it done is the most important thing, because I think many of us have an opportunity, and sometimes we feel lazy, or sometimes we feel like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it later on, or procrastination. I think as a leader, I think that one of the most important thing for me as a female leader is, when you have something on your task, you do everything you can to make sure you accomplish that task and get things done.
I think that's an interesting point. I started thinking a little bit about myself as you were talking about that, not to center the conversation here, but I think one of the things that prevent women from just diving in and getting things done, as you just described, is this fear of perfectionism. So do you ever experience that? Are you, willing to share a piece of advice about how you sort of work through that in terms of getting things done and making sure you're knocking out your to-do list every day?
Yeah, so the preparation is a big part of getting things done. So my schedule usually is very hectic from morning until evening. But what I usually do is spend 20 minutes to 30 minutes before I go to bed and prep for the next day. So I know what are some of the things. So yes, do I want everything to be perfect? I do everything I can to make sure that I'm giving my 110%. But I think the preparation is something that sometimes some of us lack. I think when you're prepared, then when you're next day, when you have that task in your hand, you know exactly what you need to do to get things done. But you have to prepare. People who just kind of, okay, I'm just gonna do it by, at least my personal view. People will say, well, I'll just do it without preparation. I just don't think you can get things done as efficient as you would if you're more prepared. So preparation is a huge key of getting things done, in my opinion. And I like to usually do it either over the weekend, where I spend a few hours and just prepare myself, or sometimes even night before, 15 minutes. Just even with having my glass of wine, just kind of like, okay, relax and just get some of this done for next day.
I think that's an important point and takeaway is it doesn't have to be perfect if you're prepared, because you know what's coming and you know what to expect and how you might handle whatever comes your way the following day. Because there's always those things that show up that are unplanned. And one of the things that you may not have been prepared for, but were certainly ready for, was becoming chairwoman of AAHOA. So you were the first woman to serve as chair for AAHOA. And can you tell us a little bit more about how that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, in 2010, when I joined AAHOA as a female board member, my task was to bring more women participation in AAHOA. And, fortunately, with a lot of support from the board and from the membership, and also from the women's community that we had, we really accelerate. So in 2014, I had a conversation with my family, because becoming an officer of an AAHOA, that is not an easy task, especially because I have 2 children. I have 2 businesses that I'm running. I'm also involved in some of the local community work. So taking a challenge like this was a huge commitment, which meant about 200 days away from my family, traveling, staying away from them, nonstop phone calls, the meetings, and there was a lot on my plate. But one of the main reason I made a decision is, number one, is I had a full support of my husband and my children. That was the number one thing. The second thing, I realized that until you have a diversity in leadership, some of the things that we're doing are good, but will never make a huge impact. And it will never be a continuous progress until you have that. And I've always believed in it. The leadership has to have a diversity at the top level in order for it to flow to the second, third, and fourth or fifth level. It has to. So I knew that this was a challenge, but I also knew that if I'm able to accomplish this is not just going to help me or myself, but I think it would help many, many, many women and many young women who are coming into industry because they'll feel like that there was a possibility. So that's really the few points that I would say. But I'm very much passionate about the industry, and I love AAHOA. So be a part of the leadership was just the dream come true. I did run an election against two male who were dear friends of mine. So it was a tough election. It was just like a politics. You're campaigning, you're doing a speech, you're traveling. So it really gave me an experience, something that I would have never had. So I think the lesson that I would give from this is that don't be afraid to take chances. I mean, there's so much out there. Whenever a woman feel any of us feel like that, hey, the opportunity should be just given to us. That's not true. You have to seek for an opportunity. You have to look for it. And when you see it, you have to grab it. And yes, we're going to take risk. It's going to be uncomfortable, but there's a lot of, I feel so much pride from what I've achieved, not just for me, but for the industry and for women to say that, anything and everything is possible.
It's absolutely remarkable. And I think you bring up an interesting point too about competition and women in industry or anywhere in the world feeling, like they're competing with each other instead of maybe competing with the other talented people in the room, right? So you sort of had to stack up against these two friends of yours who were probably equally well suited, but the time was now for you when you became chairwoman. And I think, it's an interesting point, right? We tend, I think, often to shy away from things that are scary. And so you really took that leap of faith with the support of your family, which is just incredible, and dove right in. And it was a really watershed moment, I think, probably for the association, but also for us in industry, because you may not know all of us, but I think we're all aware of you, which is pretty remarkable. So, if we're looking to follow in your steps, what are some tips or tricks or inspiration for you into why you joined the board, why you volunteer time, both in industry and outside in community committees and boards?
Yeah, so, when I was a member of the association, like many of the, male or female, and some of the members came up to me and say, hey, I know you're very much involved in your local community. And I've always been, this is a kind of upbringing from my mom and dad, that we've always been very much involved in, volunteer on the different things, fundraising. We've always, since we were little, this is something that kind of was instilled upon me by my parents, especially from my dad. So AAHOA felt like a perfect fit for me because I was already in the hospital industry. And it just felt like that this was a perfect place for me to just join and become a board member. I had no other expectations. I had no idea when I joined in 2010 that what will happen in 2014 and on, that I would actually become a chair of the association. That was never a plan. But once I got involved, I became really passionate. I saw some of the issues that were really hurting our members. I've spoken front of Congress. I have been through, I've done so many different things that I felt like I was ready for this challenge. So that's how really I got involved. But I would say that the biggest thing for any of us, and I've spoken at some of the universities, and even students sometimes, hey, Jagruti, how do I want to get into hospitality, but what are some of the first steps? And I've always said that networking is really the biggest thing. So if somebody's passionate about, doesn't matter which industry it could be hospitality, it could be completely so different, but once you know your passion, once you know what you like, then getting involved in a local or national association level is important. Going to the events, the networking, because the moment you start networking, people are going to be familiar with you. And then you start finding out, hey, what are some of the opportunities available at the board level? I think we have to get out there and ask questions and seek for the opportunities. The notion of that, hey, somebody will just hand it to me, I don't think we should follow that notion anymore. I think it has to be has to come from you, and you have to take the challenge. And I think the easiest thing is to really join, whether it's a local chapter or national organizations, but start getting involved, going to the meetings. And then they have obviously the committee levels, and I never joined the committee. I felt like I was ready for the position very early on, but I think if somebody wants to take a step by step, then joining committees of the organization is usually the first step. But networking, that's the only way that you will get yourself out there.
I think that's the number one piece of advice I continue to hear, no matter where you are in your career, right? Network, network, network. Beyond networking, what would you suggest to women who are joining our industry after what's been a really tough year for hospitality and travel and tourism, or those who maybe have had to shift gears and focus on a different discipline or aspect of the industry as they get back to work, in terms of career advice, or maybe not taking themselves too seriously and just focusing at the task in hand? What would you say is the number one piece of advice you have for them?
I think a lot of us, I would say, when the pandemic hit, had to make a lot of adjustments in, our lives, including myself. When the pandemic hit, I was always on the go, 24/7 here, on the calls or emails or this. I think when the pandemic hit, I took a step back and I said, you know what, I need to take care of myself, my family, and I need to just be here. And I think a lot of women felt like that. A lot of men felt like that, but also a lot of women felt like that. We said, I need to kind of get myself together. I'm always doing stuff for everybody else. So I'm kind of glad that out of this all unfortunate situation, I think we've all kind of come to realization what's really important in life. But now going back to, hey, now things are getting better. Hopefully, we're getting out of this pandemic, God willing, sooner than later. How do I get myself together again to go outside and do what I did before? And I think that's a challenge for all of us. My advice to everybody is take your time, really figure it out. What you did before pandemic, is it still the same goals or same passion you have? Have things changed? I can tell you things have changed for me. I do not look at everything the way I used to look at it in the same format anymore. So I take one day at a time and I say, okay, is this an important thing for me to do right now, or has that changed? So I'm not saying the change of directions fully, but I think I would advise all the women to kind of just, take a deep breath and just see what's most important right now and follow that dream. And if going and joining the boards or joining organization is what the passion is, then I will revert back to the same thing. Make sure that the connections that you have built prior to pandemic, hopefully you're keeping in touch with, even via Zoom or via calls, and getting back into the same networking mode, as soon as things are opening up. But I definitely say that, just take a step back and think about what you really want at this point, because a lot of us had a lot of struggles and things have changed dramatically for many of us.
Definitely agree. It forced a reset, I think, for many of us individually, personally, professionally, but also for the industry, right? As we're sort of reckoning with these staffing shortages and all of the fallout from having a near complete shutdown. As people, men or women, are going back to work and assessing what's important now versus what was important prior to the pandemic, if we go back to being a badass, what are your techniques and strategies for getting your energy up so you can get in and stay in the badassery zone?
I start my morning every morning with a very quick a prayer and meditation, and this is something I've done it for years and years and years and years and years, and my kids do it too, because they've just learned from me. I think that's really just having that within you, I think it's important. I think that's the first thing I would say. But ultimately, you have to love what you do. I love the hospital industry. I love the financial service industry, and they both go hand in hand for me. So when I get up in the morning, it's not a 9 to 5 job for me. It's about, hey, I'm getting up because I'm going to help people today, making sure that they have their retirement needs are done. I'm going to make sure that the hotels are doing what they're supposed to be doing, working with my team. I think that's really important. So, following your passion, because think about it, if you don't really enjoy what your day is going to be, how bad of a ass can you be? You really can't get things done because the motivation is there, that happiness isn't there. So I tell anybody that, more than financials, more than money, do something that you love, do something that you feel good about. Because I think the money part will always be there, will always come if you really find the passion. So that's my thing is personally meditation, getting yourself together, but also doing things that you love.
Setting that intention to really focus on where you have passion. So you just described, your work as not a 9 to 5, and we have this obsession, I think, in our culture, particularly for women, of needing to have quote unquote work-life balance. Is that something you think is achievable in today's world?
This question is, I probably have been asked pretty much on every single panel that I've been on. And I think it's important questions. I really do. But I also hope that at some point, near in future, we don't just ask these questions to the women. And I'll be, and it's an honest thing because my husband, and I share all the duties together. So when it comes to the kids, it's not because I'm a mom. I'm the one who's to take care of it. Like him and I share the duties together. So I think that mindset, I'm hoping at some point will start changing in all of us. That it's not just about a female. That question should be on both for male or female. But I think for me, work-life balance. I don't know if it's achievable or not. I do my best. I think creating a good support system at home is extremely important. My husband and I have a very, very, very good understanding. We both share our duties together when it comes to the kids, when it comes to the house, when it comes to the work. He helps me a lot in my business. We manage pretty well. Do I get it perfected every day? No, I definitely don't. There are times that I don't have something on my plate for my kids, but then if my son is sick or I have to go to my son's, to see the teacher, we'll make it a priority. We'll make those changes. But I think it's work-life balance is something that's could be achievable. I can tell you that I do my best every single day, and I try to be the best mom, the best wife, the best team player. But I don't beat myself up if I can't get things done.
I think that last piece is the really important topic here. And as I was asking you that question, I was sort of admonishing myself because I was like, I don't know if I would ask this to a man in the same situation. And I think we're conditioned to think that way, especially as women, right? Even if you don't have children or a family, if that's not something you ever want, or if that's just something you don't have right now, we still get that question, or it's something that we're conditioned to ask ourselves is, what does this look like for me? And does it look like for someone else as it does for me? And so I'm glad that you responded the way that you did and you shared that feedback, because it's important for all of us to hear. And as women are getting back to work or growing in their careers, whatever stage they're in, it's important for them to be reminded of that too, that if they're asking themselves that and they're beating themselves up about it, look across the aisle or look across the cube or in the next office over, what's happening to your male colleague? Are they doing the same thing? Do you think that conditioning or that aspect of how men and women are inherently treated differently in the workplace provides or sets up a barrier to more females entering leadership?
Yeah, I mean the assumptions of if you're asking me if the men or women are treated fairly in every aspect in a job place, I would say treated equally. I would say no, absolutely not. I don't think we're there yet. I think we are far, far, far away from there. I can tell you that many of the times when I've seen it personally, that when they're hiring male or female for the same position, the question mark of she's going to have a family, she's going to have a children, what kind of commitment she has, can she actually do this, all those questions are there. And I'll tell you, this is even very subconsciously, it's not even that many men or women, I shouldn't even say just some men, even women who are hiring have that mindset that if somebody's a female versus a male, can they actually complete the duty, can they commit to the time? And that mindset has to change, because the fact of the matter is when the women are in the higher leadership positions, the things are getting done and the productivity is there. And you can see that in so many companies who promote the women, to hire more women into leadership positions and the organizations, because they have seen the reports of how productive and what kind of results we're getting as a company. But yes, we're still far away. And I think conversations like this is important, because that's how we can hope that, my daughter's 16 years old, and I tell her, I said, I hope by the time you are 24, 25, when you're actually going into the marketplace for a real job, that you don't have to answer those questions that I did when I started my career. But we really have to, it has to start from the women first, that we've got to promote more women into the position. I'm not saying of course they have to be qualified, of course, but what I'm saying is that we have to promote out loud. We have to make it more accessible, easier for the opportunities for women to take upon. But I think that's how I would answer that.
What have you learned about leadership and mentorship? So I'm thinking, as you were, sharing with what you tell your daughter about, I hope you don't have to answer these types of questions. And then in both of your businesses, what are the things that are most important to you as you're thinking about mentoring leaders, whether they're male or female, and do you do it differently?
I think the one of the for leadership. So when anybody, whether male or female, when you're coming to leadership, one of the biggest struggle that everybody faces is building consensus. And I've seen that many times. I think a leader who's able to build consensus within the team could be a matter of 5 people or 500 people. But if you're a leader, you have to find a way to bring people together. That is really the only way. Because if you are a part of a team, you want to feel good about what you've achieved. And I think that's really, really important. So building consensus, that's probably one of the toughest things for a leader, but I think a leader who can accomplish that, I think they're able to accomplish their goal much quicker. The mentorship is extremely important. I think I'm hoping that I'm mentoring my daughter without even mentoring her every single day. I hope just leading by example, being who I am, I hope I'm mentoring her. But I think it's important for all of us to give back, because there's so many. Like I said, I speak at a lot of universities, and I see all the students who they're not lost, but they're just looking for a little bit of helping hand. And I think every association, every company should have a mentorship program where you have male or female in an upper leadership program, and now you are cultivating your employees or your young professionals to be in that position eventually. I think it's really important for us to have that one-on-one mentorship program.
I think that culture is so important too. It's really a two-way street. If everyone is coming to the table with a growth mindset and leadership in mind, I think the mentor can learn as much as the mentee. And, we really focus on intentional networking and making those connections within Women in Travel Thrive, as well as just in industry. It's something that we all try to lead with. And I think my last question for you is based on my own personal experience. So one of the most unusual things that I've done to support my growth in my professional life, but also certainly it benefited me personally too, is to study improv. What's the most unusual thing that you've done to promote your growth?
You got me there, Jennifer. I think I take, not anymore, but I've taken a lot of risk in life. I think that could be said about me. When I bought my first hotel with my dad, I had to borrow $1.2 million at age 21 at 12% interest on a private loan. I think that was a big risk, but I did it, and I'm glad I did it because the risk paid off. Again, calculated also, right? Did a lot of research. I'm not the kind of person who just jumps in and says, okay, I'm just going to do it. No, preparation, your research, make sure that you are making a calculated risk decision. So I would say that would be one thing about me, that I do tend to, I'm a risk taker, but I think it has paid off. And I think the second thing about me is I do a lot of volunteer work, and it's not, I don't look at it in an ROI way, but I'm the kind of person, I feel really good about it when I know that I'm doing something worthwhile. Like right now, currently, what's happening with the pandemic and what's happening in India, I'm very much involved with the organizations to raise money, and we have done a phenomenal job in the last few weeks and raised close to $150,000 just by knocking on everybody's door. So, when I did that, with many people, working together, I felt good about it. So I just think, for me, the two things is, one thing is, I don't mind taking risk. And the second thing is giving your time for greater good. I think that's really, really important, because that makes me who I am. So it's not just about the money all the time or being successful, but giving back is important.
And you're bringing your authentic self when those two things are happening too. And I do think it is unusual to take risk. I think we're mostly risk averse as humans, and even if it's calculated and well researched, it is definitely unusual to find that time and time again. And so I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. I think it's really powerful. Sort of my key takeaways from you: prepare, right? You can never go wrong if you're prepared, and if things do go wrong, then you'll learn from it for next time. Take the risk. It always seems to be worth it. Again, if you're learning something or if you end up being successful. And then lastly, for me, your story is just really one about giving back, and it's really community focused. And so I'm so glad we were able to connect and call each other now part of our communities. And Jagruti, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. I really appreciate it.
Jennifer, thank you so much. And thank you to the entire team for the opportunity. This was my honor. And I wish you best of luck in the conference. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much for joining our session, and we hope you enjoyed this event and benefited from the valuable insights from Jagruti. In the moment, as you're listening live, don't always catch all of the amazing and incredible insights and inspirational quotes that were left behind in Jagruti's answers. And so I was really grateful to have the opportunity to listen in with you all today. And today's event, along with all of the others that have taken place this week, was only made possible by the selfless work of our Women in Travel Thrive volunteers. We dedicate our spare time to help the cause, to produce events like this. Thank you, Thrive Hive. And I'm now going to introduce one of my Hive colleagues, Patricia, who's going to talk with you a little bit more about how you can get involved, because we definitely want to see you as part of our community.
Thank you, Jennifer. What an amazing interview. So I know I've been personally inspired by the last 3 days of our events. And I would like you to be inspired. I would like you to help us in building our Thrive Hive. So you can definitely sign up. Many of these items was talked about during the week. Sign up for our intentional networking through our Thrive Match networking program. You can always advocate for us, connect with us on social media, share our content, make comments, share with your friends and your colleagues. We also have a really engaging community in Slack. Everybody's welcome, so please join us. And we, like Jennifer said, we cannot do these events without volunteers. Jennifer and I are proud volunteers, so please come. There's so many things to do. There's so many different talents that we need. So please join us. And of course, we would love to have corporate sponsorships. So if you work for an amazing organization that would like to support us, please get in touch with us. You can get all this information on our website. So please do visit our website. And we would like you to apply. So all of this work is for us to be able to gift recipients with our empowerment bundles. So what our empowerment bundles are is 2 bundles that we give away to re-entry into the workforce, or if you're already working and you'd like to grow within the company. We are taking applications right now. We are taking applications until June 28th, so you have a little bit of time, and we are picking recipients in July. So basically, we are giving you this amazing gift for either if you're looking for come back into the workforce or if you're already growing. So please apply. This is why we are here. We would love to hear from you. And thank you very much. Right back to you, Jennifer.
Awesome. Patricia, thank you so much for covering those ways to get involved. I shared some links in the chat if you want to save and share those. One of the other links that I'm getting ready to drop in, or did earlier actually, is the opportunity to sign up for our Thrive Match networking program. So Jagruti talked about the benefits of mentorship programs, and if you are currently not in an organization, or maybe the organization needs to grow that area of the culture, we're certainly happy to help fill the gap or to complement what you're already doing in your organization. So this is a really simple sign up process. Just give us your interest, tell us who you are, which company you work with, and we promise you won't be matched up with someone within your own company, so there's no overlap there. And this has been one of the most beneficial and powerful impacts that I have been able to enjoy as part of this really great organization. And then lastly, in addition to all of our Thrive Hive volunteers, we absolutely could not be doing this without the support of our sponsors. So in addition to our partnerships with AAHOA, of course, and HSMAI, both really powerful industry organizations, we also are very generously supported by all of the companies that you see on the screen here. So again, thank you so much for joining this incredible week of events, especially this last session with Jagruti Panwala. Again, all of our events will be available to watch on demand in a short amount of time. We look forward to seeing you at our future events, and certainly as welcoming you as part of our Thrive Hive volunteer network. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.